So recently I've been wanting to learn how to shoot product commercials, and on YouTube the two people that do this best is Schiffer and Austen Paul. Daniel is well known for his transitions in camera work, and Austen is known for his unique product videography and photography. And if you haven't heard of them before, be sure to check them out after watching this video. The overall purpose of today's video is to learn some B-roll techniques and pick up some new skills by recreating Daniel Schiffer's cereal commercial. This type of video is something I haven't really done before because up-close videography is on a whole different level. And that's because the things that is normally important, like lighting and texture and backgrounds, is even more important for something like this, because there's literally nowhere to hide. And trust me, it looks easier than it actually is, and since we can only learn so much by watching and talking about it, let's dive right in. Starting with the cereal of choice, Oreos.
Yeah, all I got is questions. I never hold no answers. Bet you sick of hearing lessons.
The first shot we're gonna attempt is a shot where the box flies into the air and the cereal flies out. And since it's a composite shot, the first part is gonna be us sticking the cereal box on a tripod and rotating it left to right. And that should create enough of a 3D shot illusion that we're looking for. For the flying cereal, since I really wanted to avoid getting these Oreos all over the place, I used my mattress as the base. As you can see, it wasn't the easiest thing to do, but it was easy enough to clean up after we were done. At this point, I wasn't sure if using the green screen was the right idea, so I wanted to drop the footage into Premiere to check. Once the footage loaded into Premiere, I was proved right. None of the cereal was in focus when I tossed it into the air. Also, there's just way too much motion blur to get a good key for the footage for it to look professional. I even tried doing a test to see if we could get the footage to be crispy enough, but it was just too touchy, so I decided to scrap the green screen and set up a backdrop instead. Pink was the only thing I had laying around, so that would have to do. The next shot was the spinning shot. In Daniel's video, he drilled through the table and the box and he spun it around to get the shot. But I didn't want to drill through any of my tabletops. So I pulled out this old spinning platform and I just let it do its thing. I did try a fidget spinner before this, but the shot was way too erratic for it to look any good. I should probably mention that I shot everything in 120 FPS. Although the 4K on the GH5S is very good, it's the slow motion that really makes it. And something I picked up while shooting this is that color scheme is super important when shooting any type of product photography. Since we had the pink backdrop, I wanted to use a white table with that. And it just so turns out our spinning platform is also white, so I could still use the shadow on the white platform and just kind of merge the two shots together. And I don't even think you'll be seeing much of it because I think it's only like a couple milliseconds. Oh, and something you want to always do when shooting something like this is to shoot plenty of clean plates because they'll come in handy later. With that done, it was on to the quick cutaways. For the cereal bag opening transition, I just pinched the bag open and close. The next thing we had was the cereal pouring shot, and we really had to make sure our camera was somewhat in focus on the cereal when the cereal poured out. I used the same banana trick that I used earlier to make sure my shot would be in focus when I poured the cereal. I did do a couple takes of this because I really wanted a hearty cereal pour, not just like a trickle. And something else that I also learned when shooting this was that it's important to keep in mind your following shot when you're shooting a scene. Because for example, if we had a trickle going on in the first shot and then we had an enormous amount of cereal pour into the bowl in the second shot, then the transition wouldn't be as cohesive. Once that was done, I got to shooting the top-down shots with the individual cereal pieces. I just laid them all out and that was basically it. For the bowl, Daniel used a blue bowl, but to match the color scheme that we have going on, I decided that red would have been a better choice. Another thing to keep in mind are the shadows like this bowl is casting here. And to fix that, I just put a small light on the side to even things out. I put all the cereal in some paper and dropped it from up high so it looks like we're pouring cereal in the bowl because we are. Time for the final glamour shot with the milk pour. I didn't want to waste too much cereal, so as you can see, I balled up a piece of paper to elevate the cereal so we could put it on top. I also want to point out that I didn't want to waste milk, so I mixed up some flour and water to make this milk-like substance for the pour. And for some reason, in my head, wasting flour is not the same as wasting milk, but I'm okay with that. Then from there, I just poured it over the cereal. When I first did the pour, I checked the footage and noticed that the stream of milk was way too skinny. I wanted it to be thick, but the spout was doing too good of a job. It just looked terrible on camera. What was better was pouring from the side of the cup, which created a thicker line of milk, and you can see we got some nice pouring action from that. For this next up-close cereal shot in Daniel's video, I was having trouble capturing that specific shot, and I think because my bowl was too narrow. And by that I mean that we couldn't get enough cereal granules in the shot. To remedy that, I got a rectangular bowl and filled the frame with cereal. And that actually worked out pretty well. You might be thinking I forgot the cereal exploding shot. Well, I did not. I ordered some painter's plastic sheeting on day 1 to put on the floor. And yes, this took me a couple of days to get it right. I covered the whole area that was going to be affected, and I went to town. Got Oreo dust everywhere, but at least we got the shot, right? To assemble the shot, I masked out the Oreo box and keyframed it to go upwards. Then I put the flying cereal behind it and keyframed it to do the same thing. One tip I have for making this part look more realistic is to do a color key. A color key with a bit of a choke was enough to hide the tiny imperfections that we had, and because our background was pink, you can't really tell as well. A little bit more color correction and timing of music and keyframes of zooming in and out, we have our final video. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. The purpose of the video was to put some of the things I learned into practice, because sometimes you have an idea in your head on how to get a shot, and when you actually pull out the camera, it doesn't go how you imagined it to go. Like for example, this video took me a couple days to nail some of the shots, but I am glad that I did have some time in between to think about some potential solutions to things. I do hope that you go try this out for yourself and let me know how it goes. Be sure to go check out Daniel and Austin's channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Gotta clean up all those bananas.